Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. We're going to do something a little different. I don't have a guitar in my hand, no covers, no lessons today. I just wanted to share my story with all of you. I was born the end of 78, so I don't really remember the 70s, obviously. I was a kid of the 80s. The era of Ronald Reagan, Michael Jackson, MTV. My heroes were Duke Boys, Rambo, Rocky Balboa. It was very 80s, very simple time. It was just a good American kid in the 80s. And then the 90s came along, and with that was Nirvana. O.J. Simpson, Bill Clinton. It was a completely different decade.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
And for me, that's when my life started to take a turn for the worse. Early 90s, my parents divorced, like right in the beginning, like 91. They separated. In early 94, I got in trouble. My friend and I decided it'd be a great idea to steal a car. It didn't go so well. We were hoping to have a little fun one night, and it ended up going bad, so we got in trouble for that. Then shortly after, we moved to North Carolina. And, played football at the high school, had girlfriends. Things were going pretty good, Took care of my community service and restitution, and turned over a new leaf, and things were going well for a very short time. Then made another poor decision. It's going to be a trend here. I decided when I was angry, I was frustrated, I was speeding, and a police officer had pulled out, so I decided my little 1985 Ranger would be a great idea to take off. Figured they wouldn't catch me, I could outrun them. Well, what I was hoping for was...
He's gone. God! Man, this guy can drive.
But what happened was more like this. So, I lost my license for a year, had to pay restitution because one of the police officers wrecked his car, ended up with several tickets. It wasn't a good time, so I was kind of depressed. I wasn't driving anymore. I was just 17. In 97, I think it was July, actually rolled a truck, doing about 70. The front wheel came off and it flipped down the road. I don't really remember any of it. But on the way to the hospital, they'd use a defibrillator to shock my heart started because it stopped. Fractured my skull. I'll put a picture up there. Damage to the inner ear on the left side, nerve damage on the left side of my face as well. Like some of my videos, if you notice, the left side doesn't move as much. That's why. It was from the accident. Tore up my shoulder, fractured my elbow. So I was in the hospital for a while, intensive care, recovered. It took a while before I could look to the left again, and my hearing, they had to repair that. It was a little process before I was functioning again. My left leg started to get sore right around the end of football. We weren't sure why. Started going to the doctors, ended up going to Duke University, and it took them several months to figure out. And what happened was there's a form of lymphedema was taking over the leg, and the bone was disappearing, which is known as Gorham's disease, and it just slowly dissolves and kind of eats away at the leg, destroys the leg. Or other people on their jaw, their head, their shoulders. It can be anywhere. But mine was primarily my left leg. Started my thigh and started working its way down my leg. So they diagnosed it. I had to wear compression stockings for swelling. And at the time, that was pretty much it. Then my leg got worse. I was fishing. I tore the patella tendon just by twisting it, ripped it. I was on crutches. I went to a car show in Carlisle with my father after riding the car for a while. Turned and sneezed and broke a part of the bone off on the top of my thigh, the lesser trochanter, it's called, a small bone. Just sneezed and broke right off because it was just getting weaker. Ended up going through radiation, trying to stop this. They did alcohol embolizations where they inject alcohol into the vessels to sclerose them up. Really painful, don't recommend it. And just trying to get ahead of this because it was progressing faster and faster. And then at the end of 96, I ended up getting a guitar, so that's where my guitar journey began. It was just something to do because I couldn't walk, and it was something to occupy my mind, so I got one for my 18th birthday. And then I ended up getting my own place, my own apartment, and that didn't last long either. Bad decision making, didn't pay bills, and spent money on stupid stuff. Ended up almost pretty much almost homeless. A family friend let me stay with them, and I lived on their futon in my buddy's room for about 6 months. It was a old pink futon. I stayed there. I literally had just a couple clothes to my name and my guitar, and that was it. At this point, I had become really depressed. I had a girlfriend for a while, and things just didn't work out. And I was upset over that. I was upset over my leg, the accident. Just everything was going south quick. No pun intended, moving south, but it just was not going as planned. So I was smoking. I was doing a lot. I was taking a lot of pain pills, marijuana. Just staying high pretty much every day. Drinking alcohol, taking pain pills to numb myself, and extremely depressed. At one point, I woke up middle of the night throwing up. Thought I was dying because I just had too much excess that evening with everything. Way too much of all of those extracurricular things. So that was like the lowest point. Shortly after, I got a phone call from my dad to come to Colorado, where he was in Denver, and I left. I went out there, fresh start, and got a job. Stay away from the drugs. Still drank quite a bit, but it was getting better and under control. And then shortly after, I reconnected with who's my wife now, Kim, and we had dated before, and things just started to click, and we got back together. We ended up getting married, and then from that point, things started to roll a little smoother. It was we had kids, jobs, cars, bought a house eventually, remodeled it, took vacations. We did the typical stuff. All the while there was some chaos in there, but every family has that. But things seemed to be turning around. So a decade or so was going by, and we're just all functioning, doing our stuff, but I'm still struggling. Over the course of like 15 years, I've had like 14, 15 different jobs and jumped around a lot. Never been fired, just always go to this one, switch jobs, get frustrated, go to another one. Would deal with a lot of anger, depression, anxiety. It would just periodically show up, and I wasn't sure how to deal with it. Sometime in the early, like 2010, 2013, that era, there was a lot of frustration. I was trying to start bands. I had drama with band people and arguments. Lost my cool at home and actually smashed a snow globe threw it against the wall in an argument with Kim. And it wasn't good. It was spiraling downhill again for some reason. I'd been good for a while, and it wasn't. There was something wrong. So I got counseling. I talked to somebody, and I realized, due to family history and then also personal genetics, whatever, I was diagnosed with cyclothymia, bipolar 2. It's somewhere in that realm. And I started to learn how to deal with that. Medication, supplements, and once I realized what was going on and looking back over all those poor decisions and all those choices and acting out of emotion and why a lot of that stuff happened as a teenager, it started to make sense to me. That's kind of the reason I'm sharing this too, is for those people that don't know or they're going through some of these similar things. It's to help. Maybe you'll see that, hey, there's something deeper going on. I'm not just frustrated. It's not just me. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. But from that point, I was able to say, okay, this is what's going on, and then I could understand it better when I was having bad days. I would try not to overdo it, and I've learned what the stressors are, what the triggers are, and I try and avoid, jobs like that. I've tried to go back to certain stressful jobs I've had before, and I realized it's just not going to work. I can't do that. But not every day is perfect. Every day is something new to deal with, and I'm learning to accept what I can do and what I can't do. So that's why I do this YouTube channel. I do the lessons and everything for everybody. It's a lot simpler than being a band working with 3-4 other guys, which is like a marriage. Having 3 or 4 marriages, that can be very difficult as a musician when you have cyclothymia or bipolar, or other issues, mental health issues that you might be struggling with. So this is a good outlet for me. I can still play music, still be able to work with others, but it's on my time when I can do it. That's part of the reason I do that. So I just wanted to share my story. I know other people out there struggle and think they're alone. Just want to let you know you're not alone. There's other people who've gone through stuff. Like I said, I still deal with my leg. I'm going to be 40 here shortly, and I still deal with it. As I get older, it's getting worse, and I've just learned to cope with it and not let it get me down. You know, there's nothing I can do about it. So, almost 20-something years later, I take supplements. There's other stuff. I mean, you could always message me. I can go over like the healthy choices that I make, like supplements and different things that we do to help with moods and help with my leg. You know, that I'm always willing to answer questions, talk to anybody. So feel free to message me. But yeah, I just wanted to share my story with you. I know it's a bit long, but I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.